What is up, my friend? It is Sunday night and you are very welcome along to, well, a show that wasn't supposed to happen, but news moves quickly in football land, and we've got to talk about Newcastle basically admitting now that they're going to sell Alexander Isak. We're going to take you through the developments today, Newcastle's realisation that they can't integrate Alexander Isak back into the squad because he doesn't want to be integrated. We're going to take you through some of the hypocrisy and stupidity from the Newcastle side of this. We're going to talk about Darwin Nunez and his future. We're going to speak about Rodrigo a little bit as well. We're going to talk about Liverpool players who could be approaching the Anfield exit and lots more. As always, though, thank you so much for coming along to join me. I hope you've all had a wonderful weekend so far. And of course, big day tomorrow. The Reds have back-to-back pre-season friendlies against Athletic Club Bilbao. And we will be right here from 4 p.m. Right, let's say a few hellos. Thank you to Ryan, S4T, who gifted 10 memberships. Absolute legend, bro. Robbie Hatton as well. Welcome to Anfield Agenda FC, Robbie. And this one to kick us off tonight. Evening, Craig and everybody. I hope your ear is getting better. I was going to do a football-related super chat, but don't want to do that before the stream. Yeah, I'm on some nose drops, some antibiotics and steroid drops, and still not perfect, but hopefully it's on the way, mate. On the way to getting better. But thank you for looking out for me. Appreciate you. Dino the Lion said, how's the family? Much love. Family are good. We've just finished watching Happy Gilmore 2. Myself, Sabrina and our son Lucas sat through that one, and I very much enjoyed it. I have to say, I heard mixed results on it, but I loved it. I thought it was really good fun. Adrian said, this intro song is starting to become iconic. I don't know, it is cheesy. Like, I know it's cheesy, but I like to play it when I'm in a good mood. And there is a lot to be upbeat about tonight, so that's why I thought, hey, look, we'll go with the song. But I do understand it's cheesy on occasion, but hey, I'm a cheesy dude sometimes. Right, Frankie said, now that Maddison is injured, I can see Spurs going for Harvey Elliott. I can see that as well, and that is one of the options that is there for Spurs. Look, their interest in Harvey Elliott has been, well, it's been going back a while, but surely this unfortunate injury to James Maddison may kick this along. And I think, again, much like I said about Newcastle, I can see Spurs being a good move for Harvey Elliott. We know, obviously, from his time at Fulham, doesn't mind living in the London area. Spurs have a fantastic stadium. They have Champions League football. They have a new manager in Thomas Frank. And, of course, they're looking for some new heroes as well. And Harvey Elliott could very well be that. So, yeah, we'll talk about that tonight as well. Will we see that interest in Harvey Elliott come to an offer? Not sure just yet, but they'd be silly not to have a look at him. Love you, Craig. Thank you, bro. Appreciate you. Really kind of you, Yorkshire Tea. Right, so look. I want to start off with the Newcastle side of this, if I can, ladies and gentlemen, because there was a post that really caught my eye today, and it made me laugh at first, and then it made me think, are these people actually serious? So let me talk through the hypocrisy and the mixed messaging from the Newcastle side of this. So we've all known that they didn't want to lose their star player. No problem there whatsoever. Eddie Howe, I think, has always spoken with honesty around the situation, and quite frankly, he's been a breath of fresh air, as has Craig Hope. Apart from that one night where he accused Liverpool of bottling it, I think the messaging from the Newcastle side has been a little bit all over the shop. And something came out today that, well, it made me a little bit angry at some of the aggregator accounts, who I hold in the highest of regard, by the way, but I didn't see enough pushback on something that to me just stunk of absolute nonsense. Let me read it out to you. So our friends at Anfield Edition posted quotes from a guy called George Calkin, who was talking about this situation from the Newcastle side of it. And it's complete and utter bollocks. Don't know what other word to use, but said, Newcastle 100% believe that Alexander Isak can be reintegrated into the squad. They have deliberately avoided any public criticism of him, not accompanying the squad to Asia, and he's not being censored for training alone in Sociedad. Goes on to say, Newcastle sources believe that the logic behind Liverpool's bid for Alexander Isak, when they previously intimated they would not pay above that amount, was an attempt to save face with our fans. So the accusation was that Liverpool only put in that offer of Isak to save face with our fans. So you heard one side of this. Now let's fast forward to what Eddie Howe has had to say about this situation. And Eddie Howe, speaking about it, well, he had a very different tone, shall we say. So let's take you through what the Newcastle manager had to say. Remember, no problem integrating him in. Don't want to criticise him publicly. Liverpool are bottling it. Also, Newcastle, you have to earn the right to train with us, said Eddie Howe. We are Newcastle United. The player has a responsibility here to be part of a team and a squad. You've acted in the right way, so you also play here. We will make sure that any player has to earn the right to train with the group. No player can expect to act poorly and train with the group as normal. Yeah, so much for not throwing him under the bus and not publicly ridiculing him. These clowns can't get their stories right straight for 1 second. Every time one of them says something, it's undermined by somebody else. And I've been a very interested observer from the outside looking at this because it's a shit show. And everybody has known what way this was going to go. But I don't know why some of these Newcastle accounts continue to post what is absolute nonsense. There's no way he's going to be back at Newcastle. I've said this to everybody for a while. And like I've said, you report one thing and the Newcastle journalists talk about it, and then the very opposite happens and Eddie Howe comes out and absolutely makes it clear. Now look, for what it's worth, what Eddie Howe is saying is what a manager should be saying. So I'm not having a pop at Eddie Howe here. I'm having a pop at those Newcastle accounts and journalists that really just don't have a fucking clue. And here's the best I can come up with. They're not used to it. They're not used to this level. And look, you might think that's arrogant. And I get, people will say, look, arrogant Liverpool fan. I get it. But am I wrong? Because big clubs have dealt with these situations before and kind of understand how they work. And yes, you have to save face. Everybody's always known that Newcastle had to save face. They want to make the situation with their fans as easy as possible. But ultimately, lying isn't going to help you out here. And that's all that's been happening, you know. Even yesterday, their accounts were like, I can't wait till we have Sesko and Isak up top. Come on, be realistic. It was never going to end up that way. That's my take on it. Now, again, I'm just one person looking at this from the outside, but that's honestly how I see it. They have shit the bed on this from day one, and they're digging their own grave. Right. Let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree. But to me, that's how this has played out. And I've been really upfront and honest with everybody, saying I can only see an outcome of it, everything we're hearing. To be fair, and again, I think Craig Hope and Keith Downey have been absolutely spot on. Brilliant, brilliant coverage of this. Honesty from the Newcastle side, except for that one evening where Craig Hope, of course, changed his direction, shall we say, for a moment. But apart from that, I think they've been brilliant. So Isak is for sale. Oh, yeah, we'll get to that part, dude. Don't worry, we'll get to that part, because right before we came live, we were looking through some of the posts and a new one came up. So Craig Hope said this: the fact that Newcastle are pursuing Benjamin Sesko with such gusto would tell you that they expect Alexander Isak to move on, or certainly open to the possibility. Everything now points to Isak having played his last game for the club, but Liverpool need to come back with that offer. If they can't get in replacements, he will stay. Come on. So 1 minute we were bottling it, and now basically begging us to come back in with another offer. It's mad, this, isn't it? It's mad how this has panned out. You know, and Newcastle, by the way, have extended their list of striking targets, and we'll go through them tonight. But this whole process should be a case study on how not to deal with a big player looking to leave your club, because it's been a shambles from day one. Right. Chad, Husker, how are we, dude? Sorry you didn't get your day off, but I'm glad you have news for us. Look, I hate days off. I don't want days off. I love being on here chatting with you guys. It isn't, you know, it's not work. It's a pleasure. It's a privilege to be here with you all. But I managed to do what I needed to do on my day off, which was spend a few hours watching Happy Gilmore 2 with my son, you know, treating him to a McDonald's and a few other daddy-son things. But yeah, I'm good to go now, and I'm ready to have some fun this evening and talk about what's likely to unfold, because I think Liverpool will come back in with their bigger offer, shall we say. But again, we still have to see Newcastle bringing it forward. Now, we don't know really what's happening with Benjamin Sesko. We'll take you through what Newcastle have been doing in that regard today. They've also extended the list of possible strikers. So one other name that's come up today for Newcastle. And by the way, this is really weird. I don't think I've ever had to do this on a channel. Come on here and talk about other clubs' business, because, well, it kind of does lean into our business. So these things have to fall into place. Right, let's keep going. Oh, I love it. I love see like Stevie E in the chat there. Your Scouse accent is too much. Oh, I get it, mate. Scouse accent, no Scouse accent, dude. What you're looking at is the most watched Liverpool fan channel on the fucking planet, and I make no apologies for not being from Liverpool. I am who I am. I'm from where I'm from, and I'm obviously doing something right. So again, I get it. I'm not a local. I know. I'm just putting up the shame, but that's okay. I'll just carry on being me, and you can carry on being, I don't know, whoever you are. But we keep going. Right. Daz said, "What's up, my friends? Up the Reds tomorrow." It's going to be a very interesting day tomorrow. Not really sure what to expect. Two games back to back. Not sure. It's going to be a really interesting one for a couple of reasons. One, obviously, you're going to the game, you get two games. That's awesome. Longest watch along I'll have ever done. Longest stream I'll have ever done on the channel as well. But I'm really looking forward to it, as much as I don't really know what to expect tomorrow. Also, we get to see Florian Wirtz run out for the first time at Anfield as a Liverpool player. And that's going to be really interesting, and I can't wait to see that as well. Obviously, we see Wirtz 7 now. We get to see him in the shirt, which is going to be cool. Ugo Ekitike as well. He's been wowing the players and the coaches in training, according to reports, which is brilliant. Well said. Look, I don't come on here to talk about our channel or being number one, but I'm not going to sit here and have some pissant, some arsehole come in to try to belittle us just because he's butthurt about something. I get it. I'm not from Liverpool. I know. But sure, of course, you only listen to bands from the city you were born in, only watch movies from the city you're born in, only eat food from the city you're born in, unless you're a hypocrite. I think you might be, though. Right, let's keep going. Kevin, not the real one. Thank you very much, mate. Sean Lester said, Newcastle fans are deluded. Isak wants to be a Red. But look, I understand it. We're all deluded as football fans. And if this was reversed, I'd be wanting the best as well. But sometimes you got to be realistic about it. And it's been really clear that Isak has no intention of trying to salvage that reputation he has there or his relationship, which is sad. It is. It would have been nicer if Newcastle had at least entered into a conversation with Liverpool when we first touched base, but they didn't. They thought maybe that the player was going to be able to be convinced around, but he's digging his heels in firmly. But on that, Gonzalo Ramos is a new player on Newcastle's list, according to Craig Houlden. So they've got Benjamin Sesko, they've now got Gonzalo Ramos as an option, and there's one more name that was added to that list this evening, which I will take you through. And then we've got to talk about Rodrigo. We've got to talk about Darwin Nunez. So plenty to go through. Another name on that list, according to reports tonight, Newcastle is showing interest in Samu Agawala's situation. He's one of several options being considered for the striker position, although no formal offer, there we go, has been made yet. Porto are demanding €80 million, according to reports, which is, again, a lot of money. That just seems to be the number, doesn't it? Newcastle come and knocking, it's 80 million. It's 80 million, that's the number. Right. So let's get back. Let's talk Darwin for a minute, folks, if I can. A couple of reports today, and Ben Jacobs says, well, he's either been quoted wrong or he's tripped up a little bit. But either way, this is Ben Jacobs. Al Hilal have reached an agreement on personal terms with Darwin Nunez and were focused on achieving this before they submit a bid to Liverpool. The asking price is understood to be €70 million. So that's one post attributed to Ben Jacobs, and that's from Anfield Sector. Now Ben Jacobs himself has said, in addition to Al Hilal, AC Milan have also made a recent approach to Liverpool to register interest. Here's the funny line though. Neither club has yet agreed terms with Nunez. Well, which one is it? A minute ago, we'd agreed terms with Al Hilal. Now, neither. I'm confused by it. But the truth is, Al Hilal are closing in. They are seriously interested in Darwin. AC Milan, look, if they want to, they know what the asking price is going to be, about €70 million. So they best get a move on, or Darwin could very well end up going to Saudi. This one, Double L Lion. Do you think some fans underestimate the need we have for Isak? With Jota's passing, it's like we lost a secret weapon. If Ekitike struggles, we do. Well, look, even just apart from underestimating the need, look at it from a numbers game. We seen a report this week that said Arne Slot wants 2 players in every position. He wanted 6 forwards, and that's why Chiesa was brought in initially. So if we're doing the math now, Well, we don't have that many, do we? Even allowing for Frimpong as a right-sided attacker, let's say, you're still one body short, maybe two. So Isak or another forward, I think, is a bare minimum. Now, there's also been conflicting reports about our side of this. So one report today suggested that Liverpool are Isak or nobody. But another report then leaned into Rodrigo. Now, do I think it's Isak or nobody? Well, I struggle to believe that for a couple of reasons. One, we'd be leaving ourselves short. We would be leaving ourselves short. So I don't think we can go into this season with just Ekitike as that central option. Now, whether that means Liverpool turn down all offers for Darwin or whatever, who knows? But I still think it'll end up with Isak coming in. I just don't think we could go into the season without another attacker brought in. Whether that is a Rodrigo, whether that's an Isak, whether that's somebody else, I think we need the body. Michael, how are we? Michael Dunstan said, do you think we'll play the strongest team tomorrow in the first half and then the second game players, do you think the second game the players will be called on over the season? Look, my guess is that you'll see the stronger team first because it would give them more recovery time. Although it's only a couple of hours, it's still more recovery time. Obviously, then we've got the Community Shield coming up next weekend against Crystal Palace. So I would expect to see the stronger team first, but, it is a guess. This one, exclusive. Chiesa has his heart set to move to Italy, but is also open to staying with the club for another season. Chiesa wants to go back to Italy. He won't get the minutes he needs at Liverpool. He hasn't had a proper pre-season. And I know he's waiting for Atalanta to be able to sell Ademola Lookman. He's put in a transfer request today, Ademola Lookman, an official transfer request to leave Atalanta. So if they can sort that one out, then maybe they'll have the money to come and make that play for Chiesa. Righteous Gamer said Newcastle fans are just so hurt the fact that we've stolen their number one target, Ekitike, and now their best player wants to join us. When your club is big, you're big. Look, I've tried to empathise with Newcastle fans, but unfortunately, a lot of them just don't have any interest in entering into a proper dialogue. It's just straight to abuse, straight to delusion. But it is going to end how most Liverpool fans thought it was going to end, which is with him coming to Liverpool. So let's just wait and see how much longer they drag it out for. Because, toxicity creeping into their camp as well would be a bit of a problem. And like I've said, there is one more thing I haven't really seen spoken about much on this, and that to me is an important factor. Isak isn't going to be ready for the start of the season. With us, with Newcastle, wherever, he isn't going to be. He's had a really poor pre-season, shall we say. So one way or another, he isn't going to be available for Newcastle at the start of the season. So I think that should just add into the fact that they should sell him. Now, for us, we can probably afford to let him play catch-up for a few more weeks. We do have Ugo Ekitike and we do have other options. So I think, again, it'll all dawn on them eventually, and you can't really keep an unhappy player. And I know it's shit. I know. I understand it. Genuinely, we've been here as Liverpool fans. So any Newcastle fans watching, none of this is ever meant to be disrespectful, but we have to call out the nonsense when we see it, because there's been a lot of nonsense written and spoken over the past couple of weeks. Hun Media, Dom became a father of a little baby daughter. That's awesome. Congratulations to Dom. That's brilliant. And, of course, congratulations to Dom's missus as well. You'll never walk alone. Can't wait, said Mr. Keegan. Thank you, bro. Morning from Australia, said Joseph Purvis. How are we, sir? Morning to you as well. Well, it's evening over here, but good morning to you in Australia. Blaine said, hi, Craig. They're really a backup to Isak because at this point, I feel Isak to Liverpool is inevitable. So there is a backup. But like your good self, Blaine, I don't think we're going to have to go to that backup. So let's talk about Rodrigo, because a couple of things on him today, right? There's one report that said Tottenham are looking at the possibility of bringing Rodrigo after Son's departure. We spoke about Son's departure last night. Obviously, a huge loss, not just to Spurs, to the Premier League, because we probably all have a soft spot for Son. He's one of those players that we've always admired from a distance. So there's space in that squad, obviously, for a big player. The player wants a salary of about 180 grand a week, according to this report from Dario AS. LFC Transfer Room posted that to say, but he's wanting Liverpool to make a move. But it is a case of, if we don't get Isak, we'd probably look elsewhere. So this report here from Sports Pete said, or Sports Pete O, said Liverpool will consider a move to sign Rodrigo if they're unable to land Alexander Isak this summer. But I just don't think... hang on, I want to get back to something. Craig, you're talking to us as if we're thick, but we have to keep Isak until we get a replacement. I'm not speaking to you like... Well, thank you, firstly, for coming in and starting a conversation, my friend. Cecilia, excuse me, I appreciate that. I'm not talking to you like you're thick. I'm talking to you because the amount of disrespect that's been thrown around has been absolutely insane. And you haven't seen some of the shit that's been thrown at me and other Liverpool fans just because our club's interested in a player. Like, we didn't go in there to try to pick a fight with Newcastle fans. From day one, I've sympathised and empathised with Newcastle fans about a really tricky situation. But again, just look at the nonsense that's come out from your side. They can't get their story straight. The fans are absolutely just delusional. They won't even comprehend the idea of Isak going. So maybe instead of trying to come in and pick a row with me, and maybe you feel I've been condescending, and for that I apologise, but... look at the way it's been portrayed from your side as well, mate. The accounts that have been from Newcastle have been shocking in this. Like, just, they won't even entertain the situation properly. So you're going to end up with a lot of hurt Newcastle fans, even more so than they would have already been, because of the, frankly, atrocious coverage of it from the Newcastle side. That's my honest feeling about this, dude. The Newcastle side have covered this so poorly and picked a fight when there probably didn't need to be one. Right, let's keep going. Cal said, hope you're good, bro. Lucky enough to be going to the game tomorrow, lad. Wembley Sunday. So glad footy is back and can pay respects to Diogo at Anfield. Well, lucky you for both of them. I hope you enjoy both of them, obviously. And I'm not really fussed about the Community Shield as a trophy. Like, it's not a trophy to me. All it is a very good way to raise funds for good charitable causes. So from that regard, happy days. But anyone who's going to it, hope you have a great time. Michelle Ellis said, what gets me is the Newcastle fans should be looking to the ownership and a structure not fit for purpose. 100% agree with that. And look, if you go back, if there's Newcastle fans watching, if you go back at the very start of this process, you'll see me saying, I don't think Eddie Howe's been given the support that he needs in this situation. It feels like from the outside, and I am on the outside, obviously, that Eddie Howe's been left with just too much to do on his own. I know Paul Mitchell's left, but whoever is running things at the minute, they're just not doing the job properly. Newcastle are missing out on targets. They're missing out on the opportunity to bring in adequate replacements for Alexander Isak. And it's never been because Newcastle's owners don't want to spend money. I've praised Newcastle for the way they haven't broken the rules and have tried to operate within the constraints of PSR. And this sale of Isak, once it was made clear that he wanted to go, could have been a far smoother process. You still would have gotten the money. This is never going to be a case of you not getting a British record transfer fee for a player. You're always going to get upwards of £120 million. But the optics of it have just dragged it on. And I think it's just reflected badly on Newcastle because, like Fabrizio Romano said last week, other players will look at this. Let's use Sesko as an example. Does Sesko think that Newcastle are going to be his final club in his career? Respectfully, no. But he does like, I'm sure, the appeal of going to play in front of a great fan base, in a good stadium, in a part of the UK that loves football, in the Champions League, with a team that's on the up and up. So that's appealing. But he also needs to know that if the time comes in 3, 4, 5 years that a club, just say Barcelona, just out of curiosity, let's say Barcelona, if they come in, he's going to know that there won't be this bollocks dragging his name through the mud to try and get him out if he needs that move, especially when you're talking about huge bids. Like, you said we're speaking to you like we're idiots, Cecilia, a moment ago. We were told that a £120 million bid is bottling it. Potential British transfer record. And it's been dismissed by some of the Newcastle media as if it was just nothing. £120 million. So, like I've said, I've just felt the coverage of this has been piss poor from the Newcastle side, particularly from some of the fan accounts who just, I think, working their own fan base up into a frenzy that was never going to end well. That's just my take on it. Right, let's keep going. You have a fantastic accent. I cannot wait for the season to start. Thank you, Kev. Look, my accent's my accent, dude. Born and raised in Ireland, proud to be from here. Great connection to Liverpool, like I've said. And if any of these idiots ever spent a moment actually looking up the history of Liverpool and Dublin or Ireland, or knew the name of where Anfield came from, they'd see that Irish connection. But all they want to do is just be xenophobic assholes to try to belittle other people. So I'll treat them as such. If Howe leaves next season for a bigger club, it definitely speaks volumes of where they're at as a club. They're not in a good place right now. But they could be. Look, somebody posted from a Newcastle fan page the other day a projected starting 11. Now, there's two in that 11 that might not be reasonable, Scalvini and Isak. But outside of that, Newcastle have a pretty good team. And if they can get in 2 strikers and a centre-back, honestly, who knows? But one thing, if I was a Newcastle fan, that I'd be looking at was the last time they were in the Champions League. It was really clear that the squad was stretched too thin and they didn't have the ability to play at that top level 2 games a week. So this summer should have been about Newcastle building out that squad. And Isak was a really easy way to wiggle some financial space to do that. Because we know the owners have the money. It's not about Newcastle's owners not having the money to spend. But, I just think the framework has been wrong from the Newcastle side. So it went from, we're not selling him, to we'll sell him for 150 million, back to we're not selling him, to the player has a thigh injury, and then Eddie Howe saying, well, I just left him out because, I didn't think his head was right. Then it was the scan results came back and there was no thigh injury. Then he was rehabbing over in Sociedad, which Newcastle knew about but then didn't say yes to. Everything has just been miscommunication. Really, really poor. This one. Haris said, going to my first Anfield game tomorrow. Nice, enjoy. Craig, all clubs strive to be a world brand. I know, but Newcastle are, in my opinion, a huge club waiting to explode. Honestly, I have, despite what people might think, nothing but admiration, respect and empathy for the Newcastle fans. I think they're a great, great bunch of fans and ones I've always enjoyed interacting with over the years. Craig, who would you like if we didn't get Gay? So on Mark Gay, actually, thank you for bringing him up. There was a report in the Mirror that said Liverpool had offered £40 million for Mark Gay, and Newcastle mad now. Crystal Palace turned it down because they want £50 million. Now, I don't think we should pay £50 million because I think it's madness with a year to go. 40, 35, 40 sounds reasonable. So I think Palace are in a tough spot. Because I don't think even Newcastle, who need a centre-back, or other clubs that need a centre-back, are going to look at that and go, 50 million with a year to go, good value. It isn't. Yes, there's a premium on Mark Gay because he's a homegrown centre-back, he's an English international. But with a year to go, the longer this drags on, as each week goes by, Palace's hand's getting weaker, clubs may move on to other targets, and they will not allow Mark Gay to go for free because it's a lot of money, respectfully. So that's going to have to sort itself out as well. Daniel said, hi Craig, I think Isak will come, then we'll get somebody who can play right wing for Salah cover. Don't think it would be a good idea to just have Frimpong in case there's an injury. So I do get where you're coming from, Daniel, but I've always kind of had this, not be in my bonnet, but I've never understood this reluctance to put a right-footed player on the right wing. So yes, Salah is going to the AFCON, but there's nothing to say Cody Gakpo couldn't go across to the right, or young Rio couldn't go across to the right. So I think we're overthinking the AFCON at times, and I certainly wouldn't urge the club to ever bring in a player to cover for 6 weeks. That would just be madness, to be honest with you. Ryan said, why didn't you rock the new Adidas shirt? Because it hasn't been delivered yet. I've ordered it. I've ordered the new home shirt, a hoodie, a t-shirt, another hoodie, and then a Liverpool hoodie that isn't Adidas. So yeah, I'm just waiting for it to be delivered, my man. As soon as it comes in, Ryan, I'll be wearing it. Don't you worry about that. I'm excitedly waiting for the updates to say it's out for delivery. So bank holiday weekend, unfortunately, here in Ireland means I won't be seeing it Monday. So probably, I hope I should have it before the Community Shield anyway. But don't you worry, bro. My bank account has been fleeced. Did you see the front three as Cody, Isak, Salah? It depends what we're talking about. Because at the start of the season, Isak isn't going to be playing. Whether it's for Liverpool or Newcastle, he's not going to be playing because he's not match fit. So let's just say, for argument's sake, we do sign him. I think you're probably talking Ekitike to start the season. Cody on the left, Salah on the right. And then over time, we'll see that forward line develop into probably a more fluid one. I wouldn't say we're going to have just this guy's here and this guy's here. Any interview or any correspondence from Arna, there's always been this talk about multifunctional players. Even when Ugo Ekitike came in, he spoke about being this multifunctional player who doesn't mind playing off the left, as an example. Arna also said Florian Wirtz can play off the left-hand side. So I think we'll see change and rotation, but that's what we've always needed. As long as that rotation doesn't cause the big drop-off that we used to see, that was the whole point of the business we were doing, is to make sure that we don't have that fall off in level of performance. Thought you were taking the night off. I told you if anything news came up, I'd be on. And I think, to be fair, Craig Hope saying there's a growing acceptance inside Newcastle, selling Isak's the best way forward. I think that, that's enough for me to come on, dude, and want to talk about the situation. And also, I don't like taking days off. Sometimes, probably I need to, but I don't like it. I like doing this. Dom is about to get plus 10 on every attribute now that he's a dad. Happened with Jones last year too. He had a baby, played amazing. Yep, absolutely. I know Sir Alex Ferguson always wanted his players settle down, stuff like that as well. A good grounding in home life. So look, whatever lifts the levels around the club, whether it's children being born, increased competition, I'm all for it. So what's the big news? Literally just said it, mate. So maybe a bit less of the smartiness and a bit more of the listening. Like I've said, Newcastle now admitting publicly, even to the journalists, that they're going to sell him. They just need to get a replacement in. So there we are. Tony Rico said, us Scousers love you, Craig. Well, Craig loves you Scousers as well, my man. I don't believe I've just referred to myself in the third person there. That's very cringe, sorry. But mate, I can't wait to come over. I'm over in October for my show. I'm over for the United game, and truly can't wait to come over and chat with everybody. Every time I go over to Liverpool, I love it. Scousers are sound, like I always said, and it's a pleasure to be over there. And look, I take whatever representation I have of our fan base, and again, I'm not trying to say I speak for the fan base, I take seriously. I want to do our fans proud. Maybe people say, hey, Craig, sometimes you're an asshole and you don't. I get it, but my intention is always to try and be a good influence. Do you think we'll sign a centre-back? Yes, Miley. And look, we need to. We need to. If you said to me right now, what's the most in-need position, I'd say centre-back. Because Joe Gomez is injured right now, or at least working back from one. And then what have we got? Canade and Virgil. One injury and we're up shit creek. Nalo isn't ready. Yes, Endo can play at centre-back, but he wasn't signed to be the centre-back. So yeah, defo need a centre-back, and I hope we see movement on that this week. But I just don't know anything on it, anything inside that I can, break or anything like that. I'm just kind of observing from the outside and hoping that somebody comes in. Backup plan for the striker. Who said that? It was reported by Sports Pedo, who said Liverpool will consider a move. Now, Peto, I didn't say pedo, just in case my Irish accent made that. So, at Sports Pedo said Liverpool will consider a move for Rodrigo if they're unable to land Isak. That was one report. And then there was this other report from Dario AS that said Spurs are looking at the possibility of signing Rodrigo after Son's departure. The player wants a salary of about £180,000 a week, but is waiting for Liverpool to make a move. So that's kind of where we're at with that one. We've got enough cover in all positions. Majority of our players can play in multiple positions. That's what people forget. So I think we have, but not at centre back and not in the forward line. You know, we're going to sell Darwin. We tragically lost Diogo. We've sold Luis Diaz, and Chiesa will likely move on. And we've brought in, of course, young Rio, who's going to, you know, be a great option on the left side, and we'll talk a little bit more about him in a moment. We've brought in Ugo Ekitike. You can make an argument about Florian Wirtz, where he's going to be utilised, but I still think we're at least one short in attack. This one from Will. And thank you, Will. 10 months with us as a member as well, bro. Absolute legends. Right, folks, can I ask you a little favour? Look in the top corner. We're now 20 subscribers away from 339,000. So if you can, hit that subscribe button, drop a like on the stream, and thank you again for being with us. I'm going to run through the news in its entirety in a moment. Craig, bold, red, and Adidas is best. Love you, mate. Bald is best, absolutely. And look, I'm so happy we're back with Adidas. I'm over the moon, genuinely. Probably more excited than I should be. The only thing I'm missing now is just a little email from Adidas just to say, hi, we know you exist. That would be awesome. That's the dream. Keep up the fantastic work, Craig. Isak to Liverpool. You'll never walk alone. Thank you, Kevin. So, Ryan said, so glad Craig Hope, a.k.a. Gordon Ramsay Jr., has returned to proper reporting and not what he's been told and what he's allowed and supposed to say. Yeah, bar that one night, I think he's been brilliant. And I think he's been very honest. As has Keith Downey, who's working with Sky Sports. I think they've covered this situation really well. Yeah, so let's go through it. Let's take you from the start of the day to where we are now. You're going to have to bear with me, though, because there's a lot to go through. So this, from the start of the day from Craig Hope, was Newcastle are at least open to the option of exploring a sale by their pursuit of Sesko and Visa. Newcastle are not going to sign Sesko, Visa, and keep Isak as well. I know there's a recognition on the Newcastle side of Isak's determination to move, an opportunity to extract the maximum value. If the right things happen, that Liverpool offer the money and Newcastle have those replacements lined up, I think we'll see movement. Next up, we had Greg Evans saying, at this stage, it appears unlikely that Liverpool would move for another attacker if they don't sign Isak, which is kind of at odds with some other reporting. Also, Liverpool are keen to provide a pathway for young Rio this season, which, you know, I think is pretty self-explanatory after Diaz was moved on. Then there was this nonsense from whoever George Culkin is, which, again, I wish was called out more by some of our aggregators, which said Newcastle 100% believe that Alexander Isak can be reintegrated into the squad. They have deliberately avoided any public criticism of him not accompanying the squad to Asia, and he's not been censored for training alone at Sociedad. Newcastle sources believe that the logic behind Liverpool's bid for Isak, when they previously intimated that they would not pay above that amount, was an attempt to save face with their fans. Now let me just talk about that for a second. I'm probably one of the most critical Liverpool fans regarding transfers of our owners. And I'm sitting here saying Liverpool's owners and Liverpool do not have to save face with their fans this summer, because we have had, no matter what else happens, a truly remarkable summer that has seen us break the transfer record for Florian Wirtz, bring in Ugo Ekitike, Frimpong, Kirkez, Mamardashvili, Pekci. Liverpool fans are very, very satisfied, so there's no need to save face. So that reporting was absolute bollocks. And that's from me, the biggest moaner at FSG over the past 5 years. And I'm telling you, they've been brilliant this summer, and there's no need to save face with any Liverpool fans. Next up, the Mirror said, the Reds made an offer worth £40 million in an effort to sign Mark Gay, whose contract at Selhurst Park is set to expire next summer. However, Palace are said to have turned down the bid from Liverpool, having set an asking price worth 50 million for Mark Gay this summer. Next up, personal terms agreed in principle for Darwin Nunez to head to the Saudi Pro League. That was from Graham Bailey. Then we had Sacha Tavolieri saying, to lower the transfer fee for Ugo Ekitike, Manchester United tried to convince Eintracht Frankfurt to include Rasmus Højlund in the deal. Same approach was attempted with Leipzig. Then we had Craig Hope say Newcastle spoke to Benjamin Sesko's camp today and it is thought they would like a response in the next 24 hours. The club are continuing to negotiate the makeup of a £70 million package with the Bundesliga club. Gonçalo Ramos is on Newcastle's list of alternatives to Benjamin Sesko should that deal not progress. Again from Craig Hope of the Mail. Then we had something from a Liverpool side, a special matchday programme cover for the first Anfield games of 25-26 season pays tribute to Diogo Jota, forever a number 20, which is a beautiful touch from the club and certainly would say keep an eye out for that if you're in and around the games. This piece here is talking about Harvey Elliott and Spurs, and it said Tottenham Hotspur have been credited with interest in Elliott in recent days, and now obviously with that injury to James Maddison, this piece intimates that maybe they will revisit their interest in Elliott and maybe formalise it with a bid. Sky Sports' Keith Downey said the reason Isak trained alone in the Basque region was because he's annoyed, frustrated, upset that he feels Newcastle have reneged on a promise to give him more money or to allow him to leave, and the situation is becoming very, very ugly at the moment. Again, Sky Sports reporter Keith Downey saying this, not some fella like me on Twitter or on YouTube, somebody very, very well connected, said that, again, he's annoyed, frustrated and upset that he feels Newcastle reneged on a promise to give him more money or allow him to leave. Then we had Lewis Kumas. Ian Doyle said Lewis Kumas is attracting plenty of interest this summer with a permanent transfer a possibility. Sevilla are one of the sides keen on the forward. Then we had David Ornstein say Al Hilal identified Darwin Nunez as a priority target and stepping up efforts to sign the Liverpool striker. No bid yet, but interest registered to Liverpool. Al Hilal plans to push for the 26-year-old accelerated internally. Didn't I tell you that that was going to be coming all summer when everybody was losing their minds and talking about Darwin staying and da-da-da? I told you that that interest from Al Hilal was going to come and that Darwin would be moved on this summer. We've pretty much been on the money with what we've said so far this summer. Some of it, common sense. Some of it, yes, a bit of information. But ultimately, just been a great summer from Liverpool's side so far. Fabrizio Romano then said, Al Hilal have presented official proposal to Darwin Nunez in terms of contract details and salary. After the project presented, as revealed in the last 48 hours, terms are being discussed. Then we had that Sports Pete O post that said Liverpool will consider a move to sign Rodrigo if they're unable to land Isak. Then there's a growing acceptance, writes Craig Hope, growing acceptance inside Newcastle that selling Isak is the best way forward for all parties. Again, let me read that out because it's starting to come out more and more. There's a growing acceptance inside Newcastle that selling Isak is the best way forward for all parties. Sorry, I just had to ban somebody in the chat who, again, tries to come in to be an arsehole. The news on Isak is that there's no news. Is it dickhead? Is that why I'm literally reading through page after page of stories coming out to say they're accepting they're going to have to sell, but some little dickhead thinks he's funny? Okay, we'll move on. Craig Hope said there's a growing acceptance inside Newcastle that Isak's sale is the best way forward for all parties. Isak is waiting for Liverpool to return with an improved offer. That will happen, but only after Newcastle secure a replacement. Next up, in these no stories, but loads of stories, Ben Jacobs at Al Hilal have agreed personal terms with Darwin Nunez and were focused on achieving this before submitting an official bid. Liverpool are looking for 70 million euros. It's not a bit harsh. I'm not putting up with idiots. I've dealt with them all summer. I've had to have my family abused, my looks abused, my nationality abused, and I am not putting up with little dickheads who quite simply don't know what the fuck they're talking about, wasting my time and my community's time. So I'll continue to be a bit harsh as long as I have to deal with assholes. Respect is a minimum in life, and that will happen on this channel. Whether you're here or not, respect is a fucking minimum for everybody. From me to you, for you to me, for you to each other. Respect is important. In addition to Al Hilal, AC Milan have also reached a recent proposal to Liverpool about signing Darwin Nunez. But I don't think they're going to pony up the dough, in all honesty, folks. Thank you, by the way, for the people backing me up on the chat. There's just too many people that think they can do and say what they want in this life, and I don't want my kids growing up in it. I don't want to be that example to people. Please just be respectful, and we'll all get along. We'll answer as many things as we can. I want you to be here. I want to be interactive. I want to learn from you. I want to help as well. But please just be respectful. It's not too much to ask, surely. I'm sure all of your parents raised you to be respectful, as did mine, and I'm trying my best. Right, let's keep going. Eddie Howe, speaking about the situation with Isak, said, "You have to earn the right to train with us. We're Newcastle United. The player has a responsibility here to be part of a team and part of a squad. You have to act in the right way. So that is also at play here. We will make sure that any player does that to earn the right to train with the group. No player can expect to act poorly and train with the group." Now let's get back to that post from earlier on for a second. So I've just read you out what Eddie Howe has said, which is critical of Isak. Now let's go back to the Joker from earlier on, who said this. "Newcastle 100% believe that Isak can be reintegrated into the squad. They've deliberately avoided public criticism of him accompanying the squad to Asia and is not being censored for training alone." How did that work out an hour later when Eddie Howe had something to say? This is what I'm saying. They just can't get their ducks in a row. The messaging from the Newcastle side of this has been shambolic, quite frankly. And I think Newcastle fans probably understand that. You know, this has never been a case of us wanting to come into, like, even take us out of the equation, right? Just for a second. Isak, for whatever reason, feels he hasn't been given the contract that he was promised. There was a report that Amanda Staveley offered to give him a deal and promised him a deal that didn't come to fruition. Paul Mitchell didn't give him the deal. Now, maybe some of that was because Newcastle didn't have the PSO wriggle room. That's understandable. But he feels upset. And he feels like he's been lied to. He also, according to these reports, feels that when Liverpool made contact, when Ekitike could have been maybe an option for Newcastle, they rebuffed it away. But everybody knew that this situation was going to go this way, because this is how these transfers work in football. We've been on the end of it with Coutinho, and it's shit. And it hurts. And it stings. I totally get it. But the best thing to do is to get rid of the toxicity. And again, we're not talking about Liverpool trying to get Isak for free or to lowball Isak. Liverpool have always been prepared to break the British transfer record. It's a lot of money. This is why I've never understood the way they've carried on. Like, if Isak was saying to Newcastle behind the scenes, "I'm okay. If you can agree a deal, great. If we can't agree a deal, I'll be back training." That hasn't been the case. So the player has pushed for this move. And we know what happens in these situations. Football clubs want to save face with their fans, and the player always ends up being vilified. It's not a great situation for anyone. For Newcastle fans, for Isak, for us from the outside. Yeah, we might end up with our guy, but it's another sorry tale in football of a player having to basically down tools to get a move. Now, I know the irony is that Johan Visa is doing something similar, and I get the hypocrisy of that. Heck, if I was in this situation, I'd be egging Visa on if I was a Newcastle fan, because I'd want him to come. Same way with Newcastle, I'm kind of like, I'd rather it didn't get toxic with Isak, but if it helps get the deal done, it helps get the deal done. Where are we? This one. Conjam said, "Hello Craig, these lives nights are helping me through a tough time in my life. Thank you. I'm going through my first breakup, and also I've got driving test tomorrow. I'm very nervous about. Well, look, the driving test thing, I was so nervous, dude. I failed my first one. I was in bag. I couldn't even remember my address. I was so nervous when I was sitting down to take it. But you'll get there. And maybe if you fail the first one, so what? It's all a learning experience in life. But you'll get there, and when you do, I don't know. For me, when I got my driver's license, it felt like I had arrived and I was an adult. It just, I don't know. It's a moment you're going to remember for the rest of your life. So in that regard, don't stress about tomorrow. You will get there, and it will be a class act and a class moment in your life. Now, with the breakup, look, dude, I'd be a liar if I said to you that my first broken heart still doesn't play in my mind. I'm 43 years of age, and I can still pinpoint that moment. With first breakup from the first serious girlfriend. It's just one of those passages in life. But for all that heartache and pain that I felt all the way back then, I now met my wife. And, we're 25 years together. We've got 2 amazing kids, and she's been my best friend and helped me through more stuff than I probably deserved. So, again, weirdly, all these things in life happen for a reason, and what's difficult to look at now and maybe think will help you moving forward, it will. But I'm not going to lie, dude, it might sting for a while, but you'll get there. And we're always here for you to come in and have a laugh with as well. Even if you just want to shout at me about something, I'll try my best to grit my teeth and just help you through it. Right, where are we at? And do let us know how you get on with your driving test tomorrow. My own daughter is waiting for her driving test. She's on the waiting list at the minute. Right, do you think Florian will shut up the haters? Yeah. I mean, some of the stuff that I've seen Stephen posted about that move, like we overpaid, he's not that good. They'll learn. They'll learn what a class player we've brought in. So yeah. But I love that. I won't lie, I love it. I love when a player comes and rams this back down people's throats. So we know what we've got. Just got my Jota 20 Adidas shirt. I'm buzzing for the season. Thank you, Craig, for a super channel. Thank you, Nick, for your support. And well done on the shirt, my man. Lovely touch. And I'm sure Diogo certainly won't be forgotten about, horrible time. I still can't believe it's happened. No matter who I speak to, I was even with my doctor the other day, and she was talking about Diogo Jota, and she's probably mid-50s, and I've never spoken with football about her before. But she was talking to me about Jota because she knew I was a Liverpool fan, and that's how far-reaching that situation is. It's shocked so many people. Isaac, just want to say, as a Scouser, you've got the best Liverpool content. You saved me loads of time. And absolute helmet before who said you're not Scouse. No one's arse, Craig. You're an adopted Scouser. That's, mate. You don't know how much that means, Isaac. Because when I started the channel, obviously, you want the acceptance of your peers. And I always try to speak up for the city and the people because they're fucking awesome. And they've only ever welcomed me with open arms when I visit. Even before the channel. Every time I've gone to Liverpool at any point in my life. Even my daughter went over there in the summer. And she just came back and said, you're right. It's just such a great city. Everybody's friendly. You're a special group of people, Isaac. And that's one of the things that struck a chord with even younger me, is I don't get why you're disrespected and looked down upon by others or mocked. It won't happen. Not when I'm around. Not if I can help it. Do we sign Isak poll? Cool, we can do that. No probs. Let's ask. Cool. Right. Do we sign Isak? I think we've probably asked this question 50 times this summer, but hopefully we get 1% closer each time. Philly Reds, how are we, my friend? Said, feels like Gravenberch was run into the ground last season. What's the plan for giving him a rest this season? So, I agree that we got lucky that he didn't pick up an injury last season. I'm guessing at this, by the way, so, don't hold me to it if it doesn't come to fruition over the course of the season, but 2 things have become pretty clear. Trainioni has really impressed the manager in the summer pre-season, and also I just get this feeling Maka might be that cover when we need him, because it would still allow Szoboszlai and Wirtz to be ahead of him. So that's another thing that I've been thinking about. Obviously, Endo is still at the club as well. And actually, I want to speak about Endo a little bit, because there was some quotes from him earlier on that, again, just show why we all love him so much. So this is what he said. When I spoke with Arne, I said, I don't mind where I play. I can play as a 6, at right back, or at centre back. I don't mind, and I'll always give 100% for the team. I used to play centre back when I was in Japan, so I don't mind where I play for Liverpool. What a man. What a man. And you can see what he's won Arne over. I mean, you'd want a dressing room full of people with that attitude, wouldn't you? I'll do what I want for the team, or do what I can, for the team, and whatever the manager wants me to do. Are you worried about Isak's injury record? So, no. And I'm going to give you context to that. If you asked me a month ago, I'd have said yes. But because we brought in Ugo, that gives us more wiggle room. So if Isak did pick up an injury or was out for a few weeks, having Ekitike there, I think, gives us a bit more breathing room. If we had have just had Isak and we didn't bring in any other type of a forward, yeah, I would have had concerns about it. But I think the fact that we've strengthened a second player, well, I know we haven't signed Isak yet, but in this scenario, we'll have brought in Ekitike as well. So, yeah, I think that's allayed some of my fears. And also, I would say Ruben Peters has a great record with Arne Slot of keeping players fit and available. So maybe they can manage the workload. And again, I don't want to say Newcastle overplayed them, because I don't know, but certainly think that we can wrap up and cotton wool a bit more. Big shout out to you, Craig. Karen, just another superstar, excited for the season to start. Hopefully all is well with you and your family. Thank you, John Joe. Yeah, we're good, dude. Thank you. We're hoping to buy the house that we've been trying to get to the point to buy for a few years. We're hoping that we're on the home stretch and that, and by the time the year is out, fingers crossed, the dream from the start of this was to buy the house. Hopefully we can get that mortgage sorted out and approved over the next few months, and it'll be the proudest moment of my life by a very, very long way. CN, thank you, mate. Appreciate you. I'm 3 years sober next month, and you're helping. Thank you, mate. Unfortunately, I lost both of my parents through alcohol. My mum took her own life, and my dad drank himself to death. So I'm aware of the battles, and as an only child, it was difficult at times as well. But I'm proud of you. Well done. Well done, mate. That's some achievement. 3 years, incredible. Ryan, just wanted to thank Craig for all his hard work that he does to keep us all up to date on all things Liverpool. This community appreciates you so much. So everyone, please remember to hit the like button and subscribe. It's the least we can do. Mate, you guys owe me nothing. I owe you. Like I've said all the way through. This channel doesn't exist without the community. And it's one of the pleasures of my life getting to know all of you over the last 6, 7, 8 years. No matter what else happens now, my faith in humanity has been restored a bit, because I left social media because of the toxicity of it, and it was driving my mental health to the ground. But then this channel and you guys showed me that it doesn't all have to be toxic. And that's why, by the way, I'm so big on this respect thing, because I hate it. I hate seeing social media, which can be used brilliantly and has no doubt had amazing moments that brought people together, raised money for great funds and stuff. But the downside of it is difficult. And having, a 13-year-old, I'm worried. I'm worried about what the influences on him are going to be on the internet. And it's important to me that if I can do anything, I can show people that, look, if you come in and you are respectful, that respect will be given back to you. But if you come in and you try to be a dickhead, I don't have the time for you. Simple. I know it's simple, but is Slot planning to play 2 up front? Not in I wouldn't say in the normal sense that we think of like a 4-4-2, but maybe Ekitike off the left, or as somebody rightly pointed out as well, I think Isak's played off the left for for Sweden on occasion as well. So, yeah, I wouldn't expect us to go maybe one a little bit deeper in behind. Certainly in training, there was a report that Arne was working with Florian Wirtz and Ugo Ekitike as a front two, with Wirtz obviously just in behind. Matt said a backup for Salah is not only for the AFCON. He drops off every season. We need to admit this. He does, but would you not say, Matt, that when we talk about a backup for Salah, what we're mainly talking about is goals and assists, right? And that's where bringing in Ekitike, bringing in Isak, Wirtz, the hope there is obviously to, I guess, take some of the burden off Mo. Looking at the numbers from last year, and I'm working off the top of my head here, I think there was about 52% of our goals that Mohamed Salah had some input into, whether it be goals and assists. So that has to be replaced, and I don't think any one person's going to do that. So that's why I think we're looking to spread that burden around. But you are right, he does drop off at the end of the seasons, but we know we need others to chip in as well. Can you name the 5 most committed players on the pitch? Committed? I don't know what you mean by committed. They're all committed. Like, Arne doesn't strike me as the type of person who's going to carry passengers in the team. And again, Craig Hope saying everything now points to Isak probably having played his last game for Newcastle. This acceptance is finally coming around now, and as I said, I think Craig Hope and Keith Downey have been brilliant through most of this, and the honesty has been refreshing. Any word on Alisson? No, actually, Fergal, I was trying to figure that out as well, mate. So cheers for bringing that up, but I'm not aware of anything, mate. Like I said, I don't know what the personal emergency was or family matter. I just hope everything is okay for him and his family, but I don't know anything on it. We must never play Ruben Amorim's format if he's taken United to relegation. He's already said he wants to stay 20 years at Manchester United. I will give Ruben Amorim one thing. He is very good at playing the game. And he's a charming man. I'll give him that. He's a charming fella and he's very good at playing the game. But I still think there haven't been enough questions asked of that project at United from the media for me. Because, yeah, they're going to be better than last year because it's hard to be any worse than they were. But I still don't think they're anywhere close to having this level of cohesion and happiness in the squad that maybe is being projected by the media. Because it's easy to be upbeat and all when you're playing in pre-season, you're over in America and you don't have, fans on your back losing a game that's important or any of that toxicity creeping in. But let's revisit if they lose to Arsenal on the opening day of the season. I think then reality might dawn a little bit quicker. Ali's wife had an operation. She posted it on Instagram. Well, as I said, this will be me not being on socials, but as long as she's okay, these people are humans, they have families. And if it was my family or my wife, I'd want to go as well. So I'm just glad that obviously the club are respectful of these situations, and I just wish Alisson and his family nothing but the best. Where am I? This one for Fernando. Hey Craig, do you think Isak would sign a new contract with a buyout clause for next summer if he's not allowed to leave? No, he was already offered it and turned it down. And again, this is reporting from, I think, Craig Hope or Keith Downey, who said that the talk was that they wanted him to do that. Give him a pay bump, but a buyout clause that kicks into next summer. And no, he said no to it. 2 years has gone quick. Hope you're well. I'm good, Tom. Yeah, I'm good. Really excited about tomorrow. Don't know how my voice will hold up for 6 hours, but excited to get to watch back-to-back games. And then, of course, on Sunday, the Reds are in action against Palace. And then we've got the first game of the season, that Friday night kickoff against Bournemouth as well, which it's buzzing. There's so many great games coming up between now and the end of the month. Obviously, was going to be a very tasty trip to St. James's Park to take on Newcastle and then end the month with Arsenal as well. Stevie Boy said, is there a chance Elliot isn't sold this summer? Yes, if he doesn't want to go. This will all come down to Harvey. You know, I don't think Liverpool are looking to move Harvey Elliott on or anything like that, but there's been an understandable reevaluation for Harvey Elliott of not getting enough minutes. I think I read somewhere earlier on that he played 880 minutes or 860 minutes or something like that last year, and it's not enough. You know, he's just won the Euro under-21s with England. It's not like anybody at Liverpool doesn't think he's a good player, but you know, he already had limited minutes, and we've just brought in Wirtz ahead of him. I just can't see that changing. So I think Spurs will make a play maybe now after that Maddison injury. And I know I said this a lot, but I think Newcastle could do a lot worse than looking at Harvey Elliott as well. Nick said, off to Anfield tomorrow. Can't wait to see the kit. Nice. Enjoy. And what a bargain as well. Getting up to 2 games back to back. That's a dream. It's going to be class. Even just being able to watch 2 for me from here is going to be brilliant. Any updates on Gay, said Triller X? Yeah, there was one earlier, mate. A report in the Mirror. I don't want to misquote them, so let me read it out for you. So this one here said, according to the Mirror, the Reds made an offer worth 40 million in an effort to sign Mark Gay, whose contract at Crystal Palace is up at the end of the season. And Palace apparently turned down the bid and said they want 50 million for Mark Gay, which I don't think any player would be worth 50 million quid with a year to go, unless you're talking a superstar. And Gay's a very good player, but I think 50 million quid seems fanciful, and you know, the sale price will probably be 40. And I'm not saying we sign him, because there's certainly other clubs, Newcastle interested, and a couple of other Premier League sides. So I'm not assuming he comes to Liverpool, but I'd be very, 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 very surprised if they get 50 million quid from anyone. Jake, hi mate, hope you're well, loving the streams, thank you, really do appreciate that. I really think we need 1, if not 2 centre-backs to compete when it gets down to the end of the season and late stages in the Champions League, and unsure who we could go for. So this is why I'm so adamant that Mark Gay is the best fit, because yeah, a young centre-back, you know, looks like they could be brought in, but I still feel Mark Gay is the smart play, because it gives us 3 centre-backs that we can rotate at Arna's desire. You know, Gomez is there as well, but Canade, Virgil and Mark Gay, I think you could give them all enough games to keep them happy. And I think with the quality the 3 of those guys possess, interchanging any of them, and I don't think would be weakened too much. So, you know, secretly I'm really, really hoping that we get Mark Gay, but the plan was sell Kwanzaa, bring in a younger centre-back, but like I said, with the Canade situation still unresolved, I don't know how this one ends up. Gay plays both sides. Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. Like, he's just a very, very versatile player, and you could, you know, going into a game, let's say if he wanted to rest Virgil and you would Mark Gay and Canade, be more than happy with that as well. LFC Josh said, Craig, choose a player for the back of my shirt I'm getting tomorrow before going to Anfield to watch the game. Maybe Wirtz or Dom. So if you're asking me, I'm going to say Maka. McAllister 10 would be the one I'd get. Wirtz 7 is obviously really cool shout as well. But yeah, I'd go Maka. But then again, I'm a big Maka fan. So Nick, off to Anfield tomorrow. Can't wait to see the kit. Nice. Gary, thank you, mate. Ryan said, can we please add broccoli to the super stickers? I think they'd be a top seller. Are both games televised? Yeah, they are both on LFC TV. And of course, we'll be covering them both as well. I'll be on at 4 o'clock and I'll be going right through to 10 p.m, which will be my longest ever stream. So I'm sure I'll need a toilet break at some point. But yeah, both of them on TV. Chat don't hate me, but I think we should go for Tyrone Mings. So, ironically, same club, different centre-back, but we were linked with Ezri Konsa at one point, and I remember thinking, no, please no, just no. No. And Tyrone Mings is a massive no for me as well. So yeah, I'll respectfully pass on that one. Craig, when was the last time a Liverpool team had this many superstars? Oh well, if you go back to that midfield where we had like Gerrard, Alonso, Mascherano, that was obviously we had some great defenders. Obviously we had Pepe Reina as well. But in my lifetime, I think this is the strongest group of players I've ever seen that we've assembled. It's very difficult to compare eras as well, but I was unlucky in that I kind of came in at the tail end of our success. And yes, as a fan, I've gotten to see some cool stuff, but there was that long wait for a league title, which when it did come, of course, came during COVID times and couldn't really be celebrated. But that's where last year came in clutch. We finally got to have that proper experience. Be careful traveling tomorrow. There's strong wind. Yeah, there's a storm coming. Yeah, as you said. Hopefully it isn't too bad, and I hope everybody does stay safe. Kylie said, "All right, Craig. Only been here a month or so. You're sounding honest, lad. Fuck the haters. The Hugo shot at 20. Thank you, Kylie. Really do appreciate that. Look, I'm a pretty simple fella. I'm up to chat with anybody, but I just don't have time for abuse. I don't get it. I don't understand why anybody does that. Like, I wouldn't watch a TV show I don't like. I wouldn't. I would never think of going into another community and just start belittling everybody for the sake of it. I banter. You know, I love a bit of banter and I love a bit of shithousery, but people are just too quick to go straight to abuse. And I just don't have the time for it. Martin said, anyone that blames Liverpool for the Isak situation is a moron. Liverpool was respectful by contacting Newcastle by asking if Isak's available, and if not, we'll sign Ekitike. Yeah, I get that, and I agree. I would like to know if I could ask Ugo Ekitike one question off the record that maybe only him and I would ever know the answer to. I'd love to know, was he open to the Newcastle move? Because that's one thing in all of this I don't know the answer to. You know, yes, there was that time where we both looked at Ekitike and we did say to Newcastle, you know, Isak would be our preferred guy, but I don't know. I'd love to know the answer to that one. If there is some mad world maybe where they got Ugo Ekitike and we got Isak, or was Ekitike never really open to the move? I don't know. Forget Isak and try Rodrigo. Why? Why would you forget a player that's doing so much and wants to come to you? I don't understand that at all. And also, I think Isak could be a better fit for us. And look, I like Rodrigo. I really do. But no, you don't ditch a player that's working this hard to come. You know, he's put himself out on a limb here. I don't want Liverpool to just throw him under the bus and walk away. I want us to see it through. Craig, do you think if Liverpool sign Isak and Rodrigo, do you think Ekitike out at game time? I just don't see a world where that happens, where we sign both of them. You know, if you wanted to be really greedy, and look, as fans, hey, we're supposed to be greedy, right? I think Fofana might be an option, but the idea of the fee and the wages for Rodrigo as well, I could never see both happening. Right, let's check in on our poll. So we asked, do we sign Isak? We'll leave it go to 3,000 votes. We're at 2.7 now. So if you haven't had a vote on it, please do. Craig, the funny thing is that everybody told us how to feel about 66 and not to throw abuse at them, but Newcastle fans are throwing abuse at others and Isak, even though they'll get a record fee from. See, I get that, but I'm also more aware that we're all hypocrites as football fans. Like, we are. And those that admit it, I think, understand the process. But, you know, if this was our player wanting to go the way he did, I wouldn't be happy about it, like I wasn't with Trent. But, like, the whole hypocrisy of Visa doing this to get to Newcastle and Isak doing this to leave Newcastle, you know, you've got that yin and yang. So it's never great. I don't like to see it getting this toxic between any player and a club, regardless of whether it's for us or against us. I just don't like to see it. I don't like to see people vilified. Where am I at? This one from Eddie. How are we, Eddie? Always lovely to see you, sir. So, do you think we have our new centre-back in by the start of the season? No, I don't. I want us to, Eddie, but unless something moves quickly this week, who knows? Obviously, there's going to be a lot about the game next weekend, and Mark A being a Palace player and us playing them in the Community Shield, so there's going to be a lot around that, but will that be the farewell moment? Will there be something in and around that? I don't know, but I'd be surprised, pleasantly surprised, if it was done before the season starts. Oh, look, Stuart thinks he's fucking funny, talking about Ozempic. Ha 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 ha. Let's get the fat man to talk about Ozempic, Stuart, by disguising it as a Chilean player. Grow the fuck up. And by the way, if I could get some Ozempic, I wouldn't say no either, but, I'd rather try to lose weight the normal way. I get it, mate. I'm fat. Brilliant. It's no real breakthrough to me, but again, leave the comedy to the funny people. Itachi. I think end of the week we call Isak a Liverpool player. End of the week. I'd love that to be the case. It may be the case. I think it might come down to what happens with Newcastle. Like I said, they have to get a replacement in, and I'm sure that they're desperately trying to convince Sesko or to get that final answer from him, but it's a tough one. It is a bit of a catch-22 for Newcastle, because you sell, the whole world knows you've got the money. You don't sell, it's delaying things are getting more toxic. So, yeah. Misty said, Craig, I'm sorry you get so much abuse, you don't deserve it. I don't, it doesn't really bother me. Like, I know I snap back at it, but ultimately, people don't know me, The opinions I care about are those people who want to contribute in a positive way to my life, not people who want to belittle me. That says more about them. And honestly, when I look back at it, I often feel sympathy for them, because there's clearly something lacking in their own existence. If the only thing that they could do to try and make themselves feel better is to belittle somebody else, then eventually they're going to have problems in life. Who's the bigger signing, Isak or Wirtz? For me, Wirtz. Again, I'm sure others will have their own say in it, but for me, Wirtz, that was an announcement to me that Liverpool were moving big, and not only that we were able to beat off the competition. Everybody thought it was nailed on. He went to Bayern Munich, myself included. So that to me was a massive statement for this summer, of not only that we were here, that Arne is impressive, but that we're willing to spend and we want to win big. That was a huge statement. There she is. Kelly, how are we, my friend? Always a pleasure. Evening, young Craig. Macca for vice captain. Yes or no poll? Yeah, 1 second. Right, we've got the 3,100 votes, so 89% say yes. But let's ask Kelly's question. And thank you to everyone that took part in that poll as well. So, Macca for vice captain. Right, so as Kelly asked, Macca for vice captain, yes or no? For me, yes. But I could also understand Salah. I could also understand Alisson. I could also understand Robbo. I'm easy on these things. We've got a lot of leaders at the club. I love Macca, and I like my leaders to be in the middle of the park. So, ideal scenario for me, Kelly. But I often think we think too much about this as well as fans. We have leaders out there all over the pitch. But I don't understand the secrecy around it, Kelly. Why the manager didn't just say our new vice captain will be blah blah, whoever it is. But Mac could be a great shout, as would Salah, as I said, Robbo, Alisson. Do you think that the Gay deal is more important than the Isak deal? Oh, probably. probably, because I don't think we have a mad deficiency in attack. We could do it another body, but I really do feel we are very light at centre. Or sorry, I don't think we have a mad weakness up top, but we could do it another body. But definitely at centre back, it's we're one injury away from a big problem. So yeah, I would say not necessarily Mark Gay, but that centre back signing is really important. Ryan, I see United bringing out the big guns tonight with Cunha and Mbomo playing. Interesting enough, Branthwaite is not in the Everton squad. I don't know if Branthwaite is nursing an injury or anything like that. Certainly wouldn't expect him to be sold this summer because he signed a new deal. But let's wait and see. I have no idea. I haven't really been following Everton summer all that much. Watched a few minutes of some of the games, but yeah, don't know all that much about it, to be honest. Mike, how are we? Mike Harold said, all right, Craig, I think Mo for vice captain. Keep up the great work. Thank you, sir. Appreciate your support. Yeah, there's lots of great shouts. Like, we're lucky that we have 6, 7 players that we could all happily go, yeah, I can see X or Y as vice captain. Donna said, my wife don't like football, but allows me to use YouTube to watch you as she thinks you're great and loves you. Oh, that's awesome. Please do say hello to the missus. I gather you're Shane, she's Donna, but thank you both. Appreciate your wife for putting up with me. I know the amount of times we do our live shows and I met with partners who were like, you're the asshole that I have to listen to all the time. And I always say I'm sorry for that, but also not sorry because I appreciate the partners watching. I'd prefer a young vice captain, longevity. Yeah, I get that. Like, and there's also the argument, if let's say it was Robbo, is Robbo going to play every week? So if Virgil did go off, wasn't playing, is Kirkes going to be the one that will be playing? But I honestly think we think too much about it as well, because we've got lots of leaders at the club and we're very lucky in that regard. I think it's because they want Robbo gone. Chimikas could be good backup to Kirkes for the next few years. Robbo on high wages. Love Robbo, by the way. Yeah, I hope Robbo doesn't go, especially this year. Maybe I'm being too romantic about this, but in my mind I've thought sell Costas and then Robbo playing for another contract and playing to prove that he's not going to just roll over and allow Kirkes to swan in, because I do think that competition would be great, and I also want the two of them working together on the training ground. So yeah, I hope Robbo stays. We can just about put a team out with international captains, said Arthur Bright. Yeah, we're really lucky. Like I've said, so many leaders in that dressing room. But I've got to say I was massively wrong on Virgil. I didn't see a leader there, because maybe I'm old school in that I think of leaders as being really vocal and really aggressive probably, but Virgil's done it in his own way and he's done it through the respect that people have for him as well as being vocal. So yeah, I was wrong on that, but always happy to be proven wrong. Stephen, thank you, dude. Appreciate you. Stephen Palmer, thank you, sir. Look, I see somebody in the chat. Spamming is going to get people timed out by the moderators, and not because we don't want to read your opinion. Of course, we'd love to get to your opinions, but we also want everybody to get a chance to put their comments in. And if people keep spamming in stuff, it just ends up it going on to slow mode and it not really working for anybody. So moderators have always done a great job and very difficult circumstances at times, but I do want to read as many of your comments as I can, so I do understand both sides of it. Gecko said, I thought Van Dijk would crack under pressure because he's mentioned it on the international side. He felt pressured. Yeah, really good point, mate. I remember him talking about that pressure as well when he was with the Netherlands. And I think he was under a bit of extra criticism at that point in his homeland, if I'm not mistaken. But I agree. That was a really good point. Jack to 24 HD clip said, I think Salah will get vice captain, but I'd love Maka to get it. Yeah, look, as I've said, there's many great shouts, and you can make a good case for a lot of people. Mohamed Salah is, if I was to put my money on the table, I probably think it's going to be Salah. But I just don't understand the secrecy, though. Dexter said, Craig, what I like about your podcast that you say it as it is. That's all I've ever been able to do is try to be honest and give you my opinion. I'm not saying I'm always right. There's been so many times I've been wrong, but I don't come on here and put on an act. I am who I am. I'm an outspoken person in life. Um, and I'm sure being this outspoken has cost me many opportunities. Like, I don't have any relationship with the club compared to maybe other content creators who do. But my relationship, most important relationship, is to you. And honesty is important to me in that regard. So, I will happily trade that if it means that I get to be free and say what I think needs to be said, or hold people to account that I think need to be held to account. And also, while we're talking about podcast, actually, episode number 2 of the Anfield Agenda podcast with myself, Chris Stonage, and Steve Bland is getting recorded on Tuesday. So that will be out probably Tuesday night for members, or the next morning, and then we'll put it out for everybody 12 hours later. So just a reminder, members will get access to the podcast before anybody else, and then it'll go on Spotify and everywhere you get your podcast. Yeah, it's going to be in video form. We did one episode a few weeks ago. Steve has been on vacation. Chris works for the World Snooker Tour, so he's been in China and Saudi, really busy. But from this week, we're going to do one a week every week, and episode 2 on Tuesday. And I love it because that's where I started up my whole content journey with podcasts. So it's good to get back to it. And the 2 gentlemen are going to join me for our last ever show as well. This one here. Chris and Steve will be there on the night. All 3 of us will be up there taking your questions, talking about the club. And feels like a really good way to sign off, going full circle back to the boys again. The club will come around as the community grows. I don't think so. I don't think so. I think, look, I was probably more outspoken than a lot of people would like about the owners. I think maybe some of the video titles and thumbnails, for people who maybe don't know my sense of humor or may have seemed a little bit too out there. But I don't think there will be any winning around. I just don't think they want anything to do with us, to be honest with you. I'm not going to change it, I am who I am. I love the club, love the fan base. It is what it is. I would I like to have a little in now and again? Yeah, of course. Would I love to have the same opportunities as others? Yeah, but we don't, and nothing I can do about that. The one that really hurt me, though, if I'm being really, 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 really honest, the only time I've actually felt some anger towards the club was when Klopp was leaving, because obviously Klopp had that farewell show at the M&S Bank Arena, the Echo Arena, and I'd seen like Redmen, the Anfield Rap, and others all get a chance to interview Jurgen Klopp, and I knew that wasn't going to be on the table, but we emailed 3 times asking could we even buy tickets just to go and see Jurgen and say goodbye. We never even got a response. And it's not that they've responded to another email before when we asked could we have an interview with Conor Bradley and or Virgil it was, and they said no. But that one really stung because for me, I love Jurgen Klopp. He was like a hero, and I really, really, really wanted to go over and just say goodbye or be in the theatre to say goodbye, and being blanked on that one, that's the only time I've ever really felt some animosity, because we all know what a big impact Jurgen was, and I wasn't asking for anything special. Just wanted a chance to fly over and buy a ticket and go and see him. And to be blanked on that really was the clearest indication yet that they just don't want anything to do with us. Nothing I can do about that. I know I'm a good person, but I can't control how others view me. Right. Sorry, getting a bit emotional on that one. Because it is a difficult thing, right? I do understand I can be outspoken. But I think if anybody took the time to get to know us and our community, they'll see lots of great stuff. People we've helped, families buy jerseys for their kids when they were struggling, charity work we do, donated all the ticket money from our last show to the parade victims, donating the money from our last show in Liverpool coming up to Joe for his wheelchair fund. And we try to walk the walk as well as talk the talk. We only ever speak positively and in defence of the city of Liverpool and its people because we love them. So yeah, it sucks. I'm not going to lie, it fucking stings, but I can't do anything about it. If we need backup in every position and seeing Frimpong as one up front, then we don't have to have a backup for right back. So I think Isak is an absolute must. Well, I think we definitely need the body, yeah. One more in is an absolute must. And also, this might be me being really silly. I'd always hoped we'd get an acknowledgement from Adidas. Because that's the one, as you know, to me, means the world. Look, if you watch this channel since day dot, I would gather 95% of the time you watch, I'm in Adidas, even through the whole Nike era. So maybe I just let myself get my hopes up on that one, but I really, really, really hoped we'd get even an email from Adidas because I'm an unashamed Adidas fanboy. Like, I fucking love Adidas. 150 million for Isak, or use that money for a super centre-back. I don't think it needs to be either or. To be honest with you, I don't think it needs to be either or. And I also don't think he's worth 150 million pounds. So I think if and when we buy him, it'll be 130 to 140, which is not a million miles away though. But it doesn't have to be one or the other. Both should be gotten and both will probably be gotten. South Africa, well represented tonight by Ryan. Keep up the great work, mate. Can't wait to see how this window ends with Isak and a centre-back, hopefully. Yeah, defo. So again, if I could ask you for a favour, ladies and gents, do try to catch Adidas' eye for us. Do tag them. Do let them know about the channel. Because that would be my life bucket list tick. Just to even get an email from Adidas to say, yes, we know that you guys exist and thanks for repping Adidas. I don't even want anything but just be lovely because even my wife, since I started going out with her at 19, has me in her phone as Adidas boy. Still to this day has me as Adidas boy. Crimbo, how are we, dude? 21 months with us as well, dude. Thank you so much. Thanks for being you, mate. Roll on 1 million subs. It really pisses me off that as a club, we don't have a channel with 1 million subs. I'm not saying it's got to be me. It could be Redmen. It could be the Anfield Rap. It could be anyone. But we got to get there as a fan base, right? We've got to get somebody to 1 million. And I hope it happens, even if it isn't us. I do. I hope somebody gets there as 1 million because I don't like looking around seeing United stand 2 million plus, AFTV heading for 2 million, and us, again, a huge club. We need that 1 million. Isn't it good that players just want Liverpool? God, yeah, man. It's been a long journey though, hasn't it? If we think back, and I think back to being on holiday in Turkey when Roy Hodgson was in charge, and then I think of being on holiday with my family in Florida when Dejan Lovren had that howler in Wembley against Spurs, and then to now, it's night and day. It really is night and day, and I'm very grateful for all of it. For Jurgen, the building, to where we are now, and finally back where we feel as Liverpool fans we should be, which is bringing in the best players, hearing that players only want to come to us, having a manager who came in and shut a lot of doubters up who thought he was coming in to be a make-weight and a failure after Jurgen. I always said from day one, that's not Arne Slot. Look into his background. He had chances to come to the Prem before. He only came in because he thought he could do well, and he's pleasantly surprised all of us even more. So, yeah, great times ahead, and like you said, it's great. Do you know what else, though, was great? It's great to look at the players that play for Liverpool and know that they're all good people. Not saying other clubs' players aren't, but it means a lot to me as well that you've got a Mohamed Salah, an Alisson Becker, Virgil van Dijk, Jordan Henderson before that as well with his charitable work, Adam Lallana. Good lads, good proper role models. Even watching Virgil interact with the youth team over in Japan and Hong Kong, where they were there watching the lads train and Virgil coming and talking to them all. Just good people. Double L Lion said, do you think Semenyo or Bowen would be a good sub? I've always wanted Jared Bowen at Liverpool. I mean, he's 30, I think, now, and he signed a longer term deal at West Ham, and he's too old now, but yeah, he would have been brilliant. Semenyo, I'm not really convinced of as much, but Bowen, go back 2-3 years ago, you'll see me saying loads. I'd love Jared Bowen. Craig, my very first super chat, that honestly does mean a lot, dude. Honestly, I still remember my first super chat that I sent. So thank you. I saw Adidas ads going up at Anfield on the Cop on Friday. Harvey was featured. Do you think that hints at him staying? Not really. I think, again, it will come down to him. I think he was speaking with, I think it was the Anfield rap he was speaking with in one of the interviews. And, you know, nobody would deny Harvey loves the club. But, again, he does have to be somewhat selfish and look after his own career. So I hope if he leaves, we get a buyback clause in there. And I hope that there's a reason for us to trigger that in the future. But I think he leaves, personally, because I just don't see him getting enough game time and he deserves to play. Any chance of getting Bastoni out of Inter next year? Don't know. Don't have a clue. Don't really watch much Italian football. Don't really pay attention too much to the dealings of the transfer market over there. I know I like him, and I know his name comes up a lot when we talk as Liverpool fans about a centre back, but never seen a real strong link, unfortunately. I've tagged Adidas on X saying you rep them to almost 1/3 people every day, but they very quiet. Hey, look, I appreciate that, my man. I do. I appreciate that. Who knows? Maybe someday we'll get that hook up. Elliot, wherever he moves, wants Champions League football. I think he wants, I don't know if it's Champions League, Burner, but you're certainly right in saying he wants European football, mate. And look, to be fair, Newcastle or Spurs would definitely give him that. Both Champions League. K-Dip said there's too many Liverpool channels, that's the problem. But if you look at the amount of United channels there are as well, mate, I think there's more of them. I don't know why there's never been a million Liverpool channel. I really haven't got a clue. Maybe, I don't know, I don't know. It's bugged me, because I think there should be one. And if it's us someday, great. If it's Redmen, great. If it's the Anfield Rap, great. Whoever it is, I just think it'd be great for us to have one. Hassam said, what you've been through would break most people, but you stood up, back up stronger. It takes a rare kind of strength to keep going after something like that. You're a warrior, true legend in every sense. Thank you, mate. I've always said I'd love to tell my story properly someday, because I do think it would hopefully help a few people, because the bullet points of, only child, difficult latter part of my childhoods, mother killing herself, father drinking himself to death, being screwed out of 450 grand inheritance. Yeah, it's been tough, but I never had a choice. I couldn't give up. I had kids. And what I was determined to break the cycle of pain in my family. My grandfather died at 37. Again, unfortunately, from alcohol. My father died at 45 from alcohol. And I was determined that I wasn't going to have my kids see that. But they did see me not give up. And that's important to me. Kevin said, launching from Florida, Adidas challenge for Craig. There we go. That's what we want to hear, Kevin. Thank you, my man. I love Adidas. It'd be great. I can't wait to get the stuff as well. Like every other Liverpool fan, I'm buzzing to get the new gear in the post. So roll on when that gets delivered. Right, I'm gonna go and record a late night update. But don't forget, folks, tomorrow we will be... Sorry, I was just reading the comment there that got in my head. I'd always hoped that I would end up on the Happy Hour podcast to tell my story. But I must be the only football YouTuber that hasn't been on the Happy Hour, which I love, by the way. Jack, Mate and Stevie and the lads are brilliant. So, come on, lads. It's going to be a podcast that break the internet, I'm telling you. You need to get me over there for a podcast because I do have a very colourful background and story to tell. And I was hanging off waiting for Stevie and Jack, Mate to reach out and say, come on over, lads. So someday, you never know. But look, thank you for a great night again tonight. You guys are amazing. It's an absolute pleasure to chat with you all each night. See you tomorrow, 4 o'clock. But don't forget,